The most important shipping lane on Earth, a narrow corridor that carries 20% of the world's oil every single day, is now dangerous to use. As of late April 2026, the United States Navy is not trying to reopen the original lane. They are building an entirely new one, through waters that have never been used as a commercial shipping corridor, in the middle of one of the most militarily contested straits in modern history. That is what this video is about. So how do you build a new shipping lane from scratch, in hostile waters, while mines are still in the water, while enforcing a blockade, and while being in a war zone? Let's be clear, the geography of Hormuz is what makes this situation so unique. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran to the north and Oman's Musandam Peninsula to the south. At its absolute narrowest point, it is only about 21 miles wide. But here is what most people do not understand. The usable commercial shipping corridor is nothing close to 21 miles. The internationally recognized Traffic Separation Scheme, TSES, is made up of 2 lanes, each only 2 miles wide, separated by a 2-mile buffer zone. That is it, 6 miles total. That is the channel that more than 130 ships per day were using before this war started, 20 million barrels of oil a day, and 20% of the world's entire oil and LNG supply, all funneled through a corridor narrower than most cities. The depth across much of the strait runs between 200 and 330 feet, shallow enough for certain mine types to operate effectively. Iran's coastline on the northern shore gives IRGC, small boats, extremely short transit distances to reach those lanes. That geographic reality is exactly why the original lanes are now compromised and why the US Navy cannot simply sweep them and call it done. Now let me tell you what is actually in the water right now. Recently, United States intelligence has confirmed at least 2 types of Iranian mines currently deployed in the strait. The first is the Maham-3, a moored mine, meaning it is anchored to the seabed by a cable and floats just below the surface. It weighs approximately 300 kilograms and uses acoustic sensors. It does not need to be struck. It can detect the sound signature of a passing tanker from roughly 10 feet away and detonate on its own. The second is the Maham-7, a bottom mine, meaning it rests directly on the seafloor. It weighs 220 kilograms and can be deployed in water as shallow as 10 feet or as deep as 300 feet. It uses a combination of magnetic, acoustic, and pressure sensors, which makes it extremely difficult to detect with traditional sonar because it produces almost no surface signature. The Navy destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels in early March, but not before the damage was done. The original lanes, used by commercial shipping since 1968, are now treated as mined corridors that could take months to fully clear. On April 11, 2026, CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper made a historic announcement. He said they had begun the process of establishing a new passage, and they would share this safe pathway with the maritime industry soon to encourage the free flow of commerce. A new passage, not reopening the old one, a brand new lane. Let me know in the comments what you think so far, because now I will get into the most important part. And here is where it gets technically fascinating. On April 11th, the first 2 U.S. warships to transit the strait since the war began were the USS Frank E. Peterson, DDG-121, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, and the USS Michael Murphy, DDG-112, also an Arleigh Burke. These ships were not purpose-built mine hunters. They are 510-foot, 9,000-ton surface combatants. But they led the mission anyway, marking the lane, establishing presence, and setting conditions for the specialized assets now following them in. Those specialized assets are already in the water as of April 19th and 20th. Let me walk you through what they are actually using. The first system is the Common Unmanned Surface Vessel, a drone boat developed by RTX Corporation. It tows a device called the AQS-20, a floating sonar array that scans the seabed in strips approximately 100 feet wide. It builds a picture of what is on the bottom without ever putting a sailor in the minefield. Then you have the Mk18 Mod-2 Kingfish, a battery-powered, torpedo-shaped underwater drone launched from a small rigid hull boat. It carries its own sonar suite and flies search patterns along the seabed, mapping mine signatures with high resolution. And then there is the Knifefish, a 1,700-pound autonomous underwater vehicle developed by General Dynamics. This is one of the most advanced mine hunting platforms in the U.S. arsenal. It is specifically designed to detect buried mines and mines hidden in high-clutter environments, the exact conditions you find in a shallow, busy strait like Hormuz. For aerial cover, MH-60S Seahawks helicopters are operating above the new corridor, equipped with the Airborne Laser Mine Detection System, known as ALMDS, which uses blue-green laser light to scan shallow water from altitude. When a mine is confirmed, those same helicopters deploy the Airborne Mine Neutralization System, known as AMNS, which drops an expendable underwater vehicle called the Archerfish directly onto the mine to destroy it. The USS Chief and USS Pioneer, Avenger-class minesweepers. Home-ported at Sasebo, Japan, commissioned in 1992 and 1994, are en route after departing Singapore on April 10th. These are wooden-hulled ships with fiberglass coating, built specifically to reduce their magnetic signature so they can operate inside minefields without triggering the mines beneath them. The USS Tulsa, an Independence-class littoral combat ship with a mine. Countermeasures mission package passed through the Strait of Malacca on April 2nd, heading toward the operational theater. Guys, if you are proud of the men and women operating these machines in one of the most dangerous places on Earth right now, subscribe and let me know in the comments below. Now, here is the strategic logic that I think gets lost in most news coverage. The original traffic separation scheme lanes, established under international maritime law since 1968, are the most logical location for mines. They are the lanes every ship uses. Every tanker captain knows them. Every IRGC officer knows them too. Putting mines there is the highest value play. Clearing those lanes completely, hunting every Maham-3, every Maham-7, and potentially dozens of devices in a narrow, contested corridor with Iranian shore-based threats nearby would take weeks, possibly months. And during that time, the global energy market stays frozen. I think the alternative is tactical genius in its simplicity. Move the lane. Use a previously unused portion of the strait, specifically the deeper southern waters nearer the Omani side, in the inshore traffic zone, where mines have not been confirmed and where the U.S. and allied mine-hunting assets can rapidly establish a defended corridor. The old lanes were compromised, so they pivoted. They brought autonomous systems. They sent destroyers first to set conditions, and they are carving a new path through some of the most strategic waters on the planet. I find it remarkable and honestly humbling. Somewhere out there right now, operators are sitting behind screens watching a Knifefish drone sweep the ocean floor at 200 feet, hunting for a mine that could sink a supertanker or end a career. If you want more breakdowns like this, where I go deep into the actual systems, the tactics, the ships, and the decisions behind them, subscribe to Shipline. We do not skim the surface here. We go where most channels never bother to dive.